Welcome to the WNBA on NBC. I am joined today by Terrika Foster-Brasby. Thank you so much for being with me here today as we unpack the WNBA finals, a finals that you and I both covered. We were in Las Vegas and then we were in Phoenix, and now we're here today in studio to discuss a sweep by the Las Vegas Aces of the Phoenix Mercury. Just not what I was expecting, a great finals, but I definitely thought we would still be on the road at this point in time, Terrika.
Same. No, I did think that the Phoenix Mercury would come away with one or two games, you know, other than a sweep, but every game at some point became a nail biter, sitting on the edge of our seats, trying to figure out what's going to happen. Is the Aces going to make a comeback like they did in game one? Are the Mercury going to make a comeback as they did in games 3 and game 4? So it was just very interesting to see exactly how this finish was going to wind up, but it ended up being in the Aces' favor.
It did, and girl, once they won, they celebrated,
yeah,
you know,
did.
and deservedly so. You know, Becky Hammon in her post game said, like, this one hit different because it is different. And I think we could all feel that, right? I mean, when you consider the tumultuous season that the Aces sort of had, you know, I mean, at one point, Terrika, they were below 500.
Yep.
You know, they had fallen at one point to 9th. Yep. And they ended the season on a 16-game win streak to secure the number 2 seed in the finals. And, you know, there were still some people maybe doubting, just thinking they were kind of hot. And in their first series against Seattle and in their second round series against the Fever, both went the distance. The Fever series went to 5 into overtime. So they could easily not even be here. But they are, and they won, and they won the finals in such dominating fashion. You know, it's like it was reminiscent of the Aces that we knew, and they had an amazing celebration, as you can see here, rightfully so, because look, they went through a lot, Terrika.
Yeah, it really is hard to put into words what we saw this year. And when I think about the Aces, this championship in general, I feel like each one of them brings their own like different level of wow moments. Like I think about that first championship in 2022 and you're like, wow, Becky Hammon just came to the WNBA and she's already a champion, and Asia's been the face of this franchise for how long, and now she's helped to elevate her team, and Chelsea Gray wins the WNBA Finals MVP, and it just feels like there's so much going on. Then you look at 2023 and they were dominant the whole season. I mean, they started the season and you knew like that them Aces are probably going to win a championship. And then we see 2025 where, no, they were not the team that started the season the hottest. The A'ja Wilson was not in the conversation for MVP for the beginning part of this season. She missed some games due to a concussion. A few players missed some games. We're talking about, well, Kelsey Plum isn't there anymore, and Jewell Loyd is starting, and she isn't looking the way that we anticipated that she would look. And there are just so many different conversations and things that dispelled their potential to actually get here. And then they lose by 50 points to Minnesota. And that was the turning point where A'ja said, if you're not really coming to play, don't come. Don't show up. And that is the leadership of her, but also the camaraderie of this team. Because if you hear her talk about it, she says, I didn't really need to say much. Like, they all understood the assignment. They all understood what was needed. And that's when that win streak started. And you and I both know that when it comes to the WNBA Finals, it's not really about how you perform in the beginning of the season. It's about getting hot and clicking at the right time. And the Aces did that.
For sure. And, you know, you mentioned a couple of players, and I do want to call out some people. Of course, we know that everything revolves around A'ja. But before we get to her, because I feel like sometimes her teammates don't, you know, get enough credit. And I say that because A'ja Wilson really has a very talented team around her. Jackie Young made second team all WNBA. And the two of them just throughout this postseason have been incredible, Terrika.
60 points in game 2.
Okay. And Jackie, how many games did she have with like no turnovers or little turnovers? I mean, she's been amazing. And then you think about a player like Chelsea Gray, right? Chelsea Gray, like, this is actually her 4th championship. And we need to remember that because, I mean, Sue Bird has 4, but we have to start thinking about where Chelsea Gray ranks in her legacy in like among the great point guards in WNBA history. She's definitely up there, right? And obviously she's still playing, but you know, she caught a lot of backlash, and a lot of people were talking about her, saying she didn't have it. She showed us in Unrivaled she did, and then came back this season looking a little shaky and really completed the season amazingly. She was guarding up. She was, you know, really playing great defense for the Aces. We started to see those point guard-like passes that we're used to. I love that shirt Adidas created for her. I mean, I thought Chelsea Gray was really incredible.
I would agree with that. I think that, to your point, there are so many players that don't necessarily get the recognition that they deserve this season because they play along a player as great as A'ja Wilson. But certainly, I mean, Chelsea Gray, to me, did so many intangible things that did not necessarily show up on a stat sheet. But if you were in that building and you were watching that game, you could feel the impact that she made. And then there were other players who weren't necessarily the quote-unquote stars, but has star power, and they showed up in a big way. And before I even get to them, Jewell Loyd, right? Jewell Loyd coming off the bench. Jewell Loyd, like, that's the gold mamba for a reason. She also has several championships to her name. She's also someone who understands what it means to be in this position, and she showed that. And the fact that she was willing to say, you know what, let me come off the bench for this team, being that selfless is something that people wish they could play alongside on a continual basis. So Jewell Loyd, you have got to show her the love that she deserves for her impact on this team. But I think about a Dana Evans. Dana Evans is already a champion with the 2021 Chicago Sky, and there were so many people who had so much to say about Dana. Dana didn't really participate. Dana just kind of got a ring for the, no, Dana earned hers, right? And doubled that in this particular series. And I would go so far as to say that game one was won because of Jewell and Dana. And so it is just incredible to see how just this team knows how to elevate the other players around them, and how everyone, Kirsten Bell, she's been since her rookie season, and every year she continues to develop. Every year she continues to get better. This year was an opportunity for her to get better. So as much as we talk about that Aces bench and how depth had been an issue for them, they really showed up in a big way this year.
They did. Dana Evans, I cannot be happier for her, especially because of the way people came at her, like you said. And going back to Jewell Loyd, I love seeing her like with her trophy, and you know, and like just I want to just shout out like that stat we showed a little bit earlier, that she is undefeated in the finals.
10-0.
Undefeated in the finals. I need people to understand like what A'ja Wilson had to work with, and because this team was not clicking at the beginning, people were, to me, kind of going in a way that I didn't think was necessary. You know what I mean? Like, it was too much. It's like, you guys are not respecting who these players are. Like, I get they might be struggling, but Jewell Loyd has too great of a resume. Chelsea Gray has too great of a resume for y'all to be talking about these players and disrespecting them the way that you are. And while I wasn't sure, I'm not going to sit up here and say there were not some points in the season that the Aces made me question them. I never bought into the idea that A'ja Wilson didn't have enough talent around her. I was like, something isn't right. I don't know what it is. And maybe they won't figure it out this year, but those are talented players, and I do not believe that they are all washed and at the end of their WNBA careers. And then another player we need to talk about who came in and was NaLyssa Smith. Many people say NaLyssa Smith saved the Aces season, and I mean, what a turnaround story for NaLyssa Smith, right? Like, she's out of the rotation on the Indiana Fever. She gets traded to Dallas thinking she's going to have this new opportunity. And then, you know, things aren't going well in Dallas, and she gets traded mid-season. And people are going in on the trade, acting like the Aces did the worst thing in the world because they gave up a first-round pick. It wasn't going to do anything for them. They thought it wouldn't go anywhere. NaLyssa Smith really changed things, because with NaLyssa Smith on the court, people could no longer just ignore, you know, a player on the court, which is, you know, with Kia, she's just not as offensively strong. And so a lot of ways that teams played them was not to defend Kia. And it was hurting the Aces. It was allowing A'ja to be crowded and the way, you know, she was being defended. And when you added NaLyssa, who can, you know, operate off of Asia's gravity and the attention she draws, and now it forced defenses to have to guard each player on the court. And it really helped to start making things better for the Aces. So I don't think enough credit can be given to NaLyssa Smith. And I had the chance to talk to her. And she's just so, she thinks Asia, Asia is her GOAT. And so she was so happy to be playing with her, and she just talks about how Asia pours into her, and so she's so happy. She said, it hadn't sunk in yet, but I couldn't be happier for her. I just think she's so deserving.
Yeah, 100%. And NaLyssa is a champion at every level. She's won in college, she's won at AU, and now she has a WNBA championship to her credit. And you have to understand the thing when you are a person coming into a new team, there are growing pains. And yeah, the core for this Las Vegas team remained the same, but there was also some different pieces around them that they had to get used to playing with, and that takes time. The thing about the WNBA is that because it's such a short season, in comparison to other sports, that it doesn't always feel like you have enough time to gel, to figure it out, to understand how all these pieces are going to work together. And for a good part of the season, that was an issue for me. Then you add in injuries, and that never helps when you're still trying to figure out how to play a new style. They also have new coaches on the bench. Keep in mind that 2 of their assistant coaches that were pivotal to their championship seasons prior to this year are now head coaches in other places. So there was a lot of change that was happening with the Las Vegas Aces, which I think also factor into why you kind of start the season a little differently than we were accustomed to. And I was with you in the saying of, maybe they don't have it this year, but we're not going to say that Chelsea Gray can't play no more.
Exactly.
That's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to say NaLyssa Smith isn't an addition to any team. There are several teams that wish they had a NaLyssa Smith in their pay. You get what I mean? So there were definitely moments in the season where I think the criticism of the team as a whole in terms of their ability to get to the finals was warranted. But I think anybody, and I've said this on multiple shows, on multiple programs, if you count out any team that has Asia Wilson on it, you're nuts. And that is because she is such a phenomenal player, that she has the ability to impact those around her and impact the game on not just the offensive end, but on the defensive end, which is why she's in history right now with having both a Defensive Player of the Year, an MVP, a Finals MVP, and a championship, and a scoring title all in the same season, which has not been done in the NBA or WNBA. There's a reason for that. So, yeah, I think the Aces certainly, this championship to me is more about resiliency than anything. Like I think the Indiana Fever were a hell of a resilient team this year, the way that they were able to maneuver themselves to a semifinals 5-game run with the injuries that faced them. But this was a different level of resiliency. This was a different level in the notion of, yeah, we are a team that people have expectations for. And we didn't really start the season meeting those expectations. And folks really doubted us. And according to them, at times, they may have doubted themselves and had to figure out how to come together to play and find themselves, which, again, just another level of resiliency. So I just don't think that, people will understand how this team will appreciate this championship very differently than the other 2.
For sure. And I mean, listen, 3 titles in 4 years, they've officially solidified themselves as a dynasty.
100%.
And Asia Wilson is the face of that. We just have to talk about what this means for her legacy. I know that you don't like to get into GOAT conversations with players who are currently playing, but you already talked about her making history with the DPOY MVP. And this was a historic MVP just in the sense of, because you mentioned earlier, Asia Wilson was not in the conversation, and it's very rare that you can actually get yourself into a conversation so late in the season. Like, she may have been on ballots like as a 4th or 5th place, but she was not one of the front runners earlier in the season, which was, I want to make clear, primarily due to team performance, because it wasn't about her individual stats.
She was balling still.
Right, but it was about the way her team performs, and whether fans like it or not, I don't want to relitigate it. Team performance is always going to be taken into consideration by many people. That being said, she had a unanimous season last year. This is probably a better season. She completes it with the finals, right? She got the finals MVP, but also, you know, the scoring title, just everything that you said. And doing this in the time span that she did, she shares company with only one player, and that's Bill Russell. You know, like to me, A'ja Wilson is in the conversation for GOAT, you know, like, in my opinion. And she's going to keep going. She's still very young. She's not even 30 yet. But I think you have to start talking about her in that conversation.
Yeah, 100%. Like, just so, you know, folks are clear, I think that when you start comparing players and comparing careers, it's difficult to do that when a player is still playing. And in the case of A'ja Wilson, I would be willing to bet my savings that there will be more MVPs, that there will be more championships, that there will be more accolades and more records that she's going to break as her tenure and her career continues. And that's why I reserve and say, let's wait till she's done. Because when she's done, then your argument is going to be even stronger than your argument is right now for saying that she's the greatest of all time, right? But just being able to be in the conversation and in the list. And the thing about it is that we don't know what this we don't know what this team is going to look like moving forward. There are so many things that are going to be coming up in the 2026 season that all of this can shift and change. So a lot can change for A'ja, but even if all of that does, she's still done enough that you can't help but recognize that she is obviously one of the best players to ever put up and play basketball.
Absolutely. Well, listen, these conversations are going to continue to happen and go on about A'ja, about the Aces. For now, I just have to say congratulations to the Las Vegas Aces. Yes. I look forward to their championship parade later this week. Is it Friday?
It's Friday, the 17th.
Because we know how they like to act and turn up at parades. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they will celebrate. And congratulations on an amazing season. I think one of the most remarkable finals runs in terms of how their season started to ending. So salute to the Aces. Thank you for a wonderful championship. And WNBA season, thank you for another great season. Guys, thank you for tuning in with me and Terrika on the WNBA on NBC. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you do not miss out.